And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to be taking a look at a little bit heavier game. We're going to take a look at Poseiden, which is an intro-level 18xx game for 2 to 5 players. So really, this is a train game in disguise. Now, it has ships on the cover, and you are going to be moving your ships around and placing merchants, but it's really a train or an 18xx game. And it's going to focus around owning merchants, buying other people's merchants, placing trading posts, and best operating your country in order to earn money for yourself rather than for the country. So by having investment in several different companies, and by best operating or having the other people operate those companies and being invested in them, you will earn money for yourself, and whoever earns the most money will win. So, why don't we take a look at what's inside this box, how the game plays, and what my overall thoughts are on it as a whole. So here we have the board for Poseiden, and all I can really say about this board is that it's very well laid out. Along the top, there's a track for keeping track of how much different merchants are worth in the game. Along the left-hand side, we have a turn track, and we also have all of the information you're going to need for each game, depending on if it's 2, 3, 4, or 5 players, and how many of each different card are included in the game. It also lets you know at the top what happens if you don't operate your companies throughout the game. So if you don't operate your companies, you may not get to go up in value. If you do operate, you go up in value. And if the king of a country sells its own merchants, they're going to go down in value. Now the rest of the board is dedicated to cities and countries. And what you can see here is that there are several different countries on this board. And these all represent different type of companies that players can own. So for example, we have Megalopolis here, or we have Corinthos or Athenae, and these are all going to be different countries that can be founded by players. In order to do so, they're going to be acting during merchant rounds. And the first thing you're going to do is go through a Poseiden round, which will get you special cards, and then you'll go into merchant rounds. Now, these special cards are going to give you abilities throughout the game, and they're also going to provide you with income. So in the Poseiden round, you'll be buying these cards, and the cost to buy them will be on the left-hand side. This one costs 30 money, and it's P0. However, it provides no income in the 4 phases of the game. Income's listed along the top here. But at any one point throughout the game, you can double the value of a trading post. And trading posts are going to be how you earn money for yourself through operating your company. There are other cards. For example, P2 here will provide 20 income in the first phase, 10 income, and then later on becomes worth no income, but allows you to establish a free trading post at position P2 on the board, and P2 is located along the bottom here. Other ones allow you to operate or make other free trading posts. One allows you to double the range of your ships every phase from 2 through 4, and then one of them gives you a free merchant for somebody else. But those are just kind of special things. Now, the whole point of the game is going to be founding nations, buying merchants, and operating countries. And so there's going to be several merchant rounds, and these are going to be interspersed between exploration rounds. And in merchant rounds, what a player is trying to do is they're either going to found a country, or they are going to buy merchants of somebody else's country. And so in order to found a country, you're going to need to buy a certain amount of merchants. And let's say, for example, I wanted to found Corinthos. And so it says here, there are 20 wooden discs for Corinthos, and those are going to be potentials, which can either be turned into merchants or into trading posts. And so when I found, I have to buy a minimum of 5 merchants. Now, like I said, it starts with 20, and I have to buy at least 5 of them. And so, basically what I'm going to have to do is that I'm going to have to set a price for how much each of these merchants is going to be worth. And that's what this track I showed you along the top is. So you're going to start with a set amount of money, and you would decide how much you think, or how much you want your country to be worth, each of your merchants. So let's say I wanted each one of my merchants to be worth $100. So I would then look here, and I'm going to make at least 5 of these. So let's say I make 5. I have to buy 3 back for myself. So I make 5, my country gets $500, and $500 would go on this board. I have to buy 5 or 3 of them back from my own money, so I now have to pay $300 to buy 3 of these, and I'm going to get a country card corresponding to Corinthos. And I would take my 3 merchants, and I would put them on here in front of me showing that I have 3 merchants for Corinthos and that I am currently the king. I could own more than this. I could have made 7 merchants, my country would have gotten $700, and then I would have had to buy at least half of them back, so I'd have had to pay $400 in order to have the majority. The ones that I don't buy back are going to go into this merchant box, and these will be available for other players to purchase on their turns during the merchant round. And players are going to have chances to either found new nations by paying like I just did, or by buying other people's merchants. So let's say another player wanted to buy my merchant. They could buy this green merchant at the current cost, which is $100. And then when I operated my country in future rounds, they would get some revenue out of it. After everybody's gone through and spent any money they'd like to spend in the merchant rounds, you move on to exploration rounds. And these are going to be the meat of how you earn money throughout the game. So what's going to happen during the exploration round is that countries are going to operate their nations in order of prestige, which is that value that we set earlier. So let's say that red's worth 170, and that gray is worth 120, and green is worth 100. So red would be the first nation to act in this case. And they would have their ship out on their nation. So let's say they're out here. And first thing they're going to do is they're going to have the chance to earn income from any of those cards that they paid for earlier. So let's say they have this one. It's phase 1. They get $30 in income. Great. So they add that $30 to their income, and the money is in the form of paper money, unfortunately. I hate paper money, but as paper money goes, this is pretty nice. It has pictures from other games on it. So this one's from a different 18xx game. Or we have one from here from, let's see, we got Agricola, or we have Le Havre. But anyhow, they're going to add that money to their coffers, and then the next thing they're going to do is that each king can transfer some money from their coffers, and that's going to vary from phase to phase, so you can take money from your nation and put it into your own money. That way you're earning some victory points. But finally we get to the real meat of things, which is nations acting, and the first thing they're going to do is that these discovery ships are going to move. And how discovery ships are going to move, it depends on the phase. In phase 1, they may move 1 spot. In phase 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, 4. And phases change as more of other cards are bought. But so let's say, for example, they want to move 1 space, and they're going to move to Kithnos here. And as they do so, they have extra discs left over, because they only made, let's say they made 5 discs, and they bought 3. So they've made 5 merchants, but they have all these other discs left over. They have discs galore. And they can make trading posts out of these. So discs serve 2 purposes, either merchants or trading posts. And so every spot that this discovery ship passes, they can put down one of these trading posts as long as all of the circles aren't filled, and following some other rules based on phases. Now, after your discovery ship has moved, you're actually going to operate your fleet. And fleets are based on these cards over here, and at the beginning of the game you won't have any. But at the end of each of your exploration rounds, you may buy some, and they cost the price listed on the left. And this one here is a 2 ship. It has 2 range, and it costs $100. So during your first exploration round, you don't actually get to move your fleet, and you won't make any money. But during further rounds, during rounds after that, exploration rounds, you will be able to move 2 as long as you have this ship. And this would go on your sheet. So if this was red sheet, it would go here, and you'd see that they can move 2. You can have up to 3 ships at any point, but you can never destroy your own ships. So if you get into a situation where you'd like to travel more than the amount of ships you have to wait until they get destroyed by normal game processes. Anyhow, let's say it's the next exploration round, and red now wants to move, and they're going to operate their company. And what they would do is first move their discovery ship, and they would place one of their cubes, or one of their discs, down here on Melos. And now they may move up to 2. And what this does is it means you start at your nation, and you're going to operate your fleet 2 distance. So you always start at a hometown, or they have a new home that you may put down later in the game and start from there. But essentially you're going to start from your home, and you're going to count the amount of spaces that you have ships, so in this case 2. And I would move 1, 2 spaces, and I would look at what the point values of these spaces are. You're not actually moving a piece. Your discovery ship never goes back, and you don't move your discovery ship each time. You just count from your home to where you're going. So, let's say if it was 5, I could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what you're going to look at is the numbers in the top of this hexagon here. And you can see here, there's a 3 and another 3. And so for each share that I owned of red, I would get $6. And that would go to me personally, not to my nation. And so here's the point, is that you want to have the most shares of valuable companies that are operating well, as possible. So if I had, let's say I had 3 shares because I'm the king and it's the beginning of the game. 3 times 6 is $18, but maybe somebody else has 1 share. They're going to get $6. And so it makes sense to diversify your portfolio so that other people, when they're operating their companies, are giving you money. Now, there's various other intricacies, and at the end of the round you have a chance to buy these ships. And these ships are what's going to trigger different phases of the game, allowing for more movement, allowing for different things to happen. So when we get to, let's see here, the 3 ships cost more money. When we get to the 4 ships, there's a phase change, allowing you to take more money from your nation's coffers to move further during phases and do all types of different stuff. Obviously, they allow you to move your fleet further and earn more money. And the same is true for 7 ships and 5 and 6 ships. And then there's E ships at the end, which allow you to travel your fleet as long as you'd like. And these are important because there are special E spots on the board worth all kinds of points that get you, obviously lots more money for shares. Now, there's one more special type of spot on the board, and that's these temples. And so let's say I had a range of 3. I'd moved over here and I'd put down another disc. We're just going to borrow this one for now. And I move past this temple, so I have a movement. Let's say I happen to have this 4 ship. And I move 1, 2, 3, 4. Any of these temples that I pass, I can pay the value listed on the board, and this one is 40, you may not be able to see, and earn money for each share that I have based on what phase it is. In phase 1, if I pay the 40, it's 8. 2, it's 10. 3, it's 12. And in phase 4, no temples are worth anything. At the end of an exploration round, after everyone has acted, it moves on to the next round, and then after that, the next merchant round, and throughout the game. The game will end after the last exploration round, which is the 11th exploration round, and players will have earned lots of money. Will earn money for all of their shares that they still own at the end of the game based on their value. So if red was now worth 280, and gray was worth 230, and green was worth 150, you'd get money for each of those shares. So if I had 3 green shares, I'd now get $450. And whoever has the most money from their own personal coffers at the end of the game is going to win. So that's Poseiden. Now, I have to admit, it sounds a little boring. And for many of you, it might be something that doesn't sound like it's right up your alley. It's a little bit heavier game. It's a train game disguised as a merchant shipping game. But this is one that I really enjoy, and that's because there's a decent amount of player interaction trying to figure out what pieces you should buy of your opponents, how you should best operate your company to make the most money for yourself, but to prevent other people who are investing in your company from making too much money, when to buy and sell different pieces, and so forth and so on. So, I really enjoy this game. I like it a lot. So if you like heavier games, but not too heavy, if you like stock management types of games, I would suggest taking a look at Poseiden, because it's probably something that's really going to lead you down a path that might lead to some heavier 18xx games.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Yeah.